Hey everyone, so Jake made this video, a lot of people are talking about it, and it's kind of echoing a point. At one point in the video, I'm like literally zooming in on one little thing that I've heard a lot of people talk about for the last handful of months with, zero sources or anything like that, where just a lot of people are echoing this point that I'm about to play, and I just like kind of from a logic standpoint have kind of a problem with it. And I want to talk about it. So I'm going to let Jake go. I'll have this video link down below, but I'll just play like 30 seconds here.
About things. Hopefully you can trust that I have put a lot of thought into this, a lot of analysis into this.
And I don't doubt that he has thought about this. I don't doubt that other people have thought about it. But I do think it's very easy to get lost in the sauce of our emotions and how we're feeling about Bungie at the time. And I think... or you just forgot an aspect, or maybe I'm just thinking of something. Like I want this to be a discussion with you guys as well, like down in the comment section. Like let's listen and then we'll get into
everything that Bungie's given us. So hopefully this opinion comes with a little bit more weight than maybe somebody else. But if not, that's okay, disregard. I'm almost sure that we are about to get our last ever big DLC, our last ever big raid. And although they are kind of teasing about this idea of episodes kind of continuing forever and people just coming back every 4 months to check out the new stuff in Destiny, this feeling that we have leading up to the final shape of, oh my goodness, we need this so desperately as a community, I think this is the last time we ever get it. 2000. So
the idea that I disagree with, or I don't have enough evidence to support that, is that that final shape is going to be the last yearly expansion for Destiny. And he throws out the raid too. I think there's no way. I think there's absolutely no way on the raid, but I think that's infinitely less likely than the yearly expansion thing, and I definitely don't think this is the last yearly expansion. And this just comes down to like a business financial perspective. I'm taking out my personal feelings on whether or not I want there to be a future annual expansion. Like, of course I do. But if you just think about this from Bungie's perspective, right? They are already missing their projected revenue targets of last year by 45%. And that's with a yearly expansion. And we're going to get into that more, but it's really important to, remember that we live in a society and in our society, giant companies specifically they're never like plateaued. They're never happy with just having 1,500 employees, being able to support them, having a giant footprint, whatever, however you want to say it. There is, from the C-suite, from the CEOs, from investors, what have you, there's constant pressure to constantly grow. Most companies target between 8 and 12% growth per year, as far as I'm aware. And my source for this is I happen to work for a very, very large company, and I have to sit through quarterly financial calls where I listen to, talk about headwinds and tailwinds and all of this. And I know that there's not a company on earth that's going to be like, all right, we're making enough money, we're just going to call it quits. We're just going to sit here, we're just going to ride it out, and we're going to do that. I say on earth, but I mean in America. And we're going to take this revenue, we're just going to throw it away, and we're going to gamble everything on a product that we're not sure about, that being Marathon. And so I just want to break down the numbers a little bit and get to why I think this is kind of a really unfounded and claim, and something that I think is not likely to happen. So we know, for instance, Witch Queen sold at least 1 million pre-orders. So I'm not sure what that ends up translating to in final sales. If that's 1.2 million, 1.5 million, I have no idea. But I know at a base, they made $40 million from Witch Queen. That's if all 1 million people pre-ordered the base version, not the collector's edition, not the deluxe edition, just the base version, they made $40 million off of Witch Queen. The yearly pass is $40, or was $40. It's more now, I believe. And so half of their content revenue from that year was the DLC itself, and more likely a ton of people, myself included, bought the collector's edition. There's also other factors, they are only able to sell Witch Queen merch because Witch Queen exists, and there's going to be certain things in activations that they do in collaborations and brand stuff. So Witch Queen At base made them $40 million of revenue, not profit. Very important. Probably, you know, up in the 70, 80, 100 million. Somewhere in there. Total guess, but there's going to be a ton of money wrapped up in this yearly expansion. Just base cost, half of that is, or like another double that is going to be, you know, from the seasons and stuff as well, because that was essentially twice as much. And then you have like the dungeon pass as well, I guess. But a significant chunk of their revenue is undoubtedly because of Witch Queen. Now, Lightfall, we don't have the exact numbers, but was at one point on track to break Witch Queen pre-orders, so it probably at least matched it, if not exceeded it. We know it has way more reviews, which is typically a metric used to estimate how many people bought something. We know that the number of concurrent players blew Witch Queen out of the water when Lightfall launched, and Lightfall was more expensive. It was $50 and $100 for the deluxe with the annual pass and the dungeon pass. So Lightfall at base made $50 million, probably made much closer to that $100 million mark when you factor into everything, once again, in revenue. This is a huge amount of money for a company that is around 1,350 employees. Half of those people work on Destiny, but Destiny's not just funding half of those people. Destiny is their only current product making any money, and it is funding the entire studio and whatever, you know, they have profits or whatever they have to pay to Sony now. However the hell that works, I have no idea. So a very significant portion of their total revenue is without a doubt coming from these yearly expansions. You see a lot of people saying that, like, oh, they're gonna go all in on Marathon, they're just gonna do these episodes for Destiny. So like, let's say an episode, a season's $12. What are they going to charge for an episode? $15, $20? So yearly, with an annual pass expansion, they're charging $100, right? If you switch instead to 3 episodes, that's, and let's be super, super generous and say they're charging $20 each. That's $60, right? For a year of content. You can throw in, let's throw in the dungeon pass. Make it $80 versus $100. You're still losing 20% of that yearly revenue that is exclusively generated from the game side, and that is being unbelievably generous with pricing. The discrepancy is probably even going to be wider than that. So, I don't see them doing that when they're already missing their revenue targets. And they're funding a huge expansion of the studio, at least 2 more properties, and 650 employees that aren't even, or 700 employees that aren't even working on Destiny. It's a huge gamble to make. In addition, there's a lot of other factors that play into this. So for instance, if the yearly expansion is good, then player retention is more likely to be higher, and thus your Eververse sales are more likely to be higher. And you can look at this, if you just pick any of the like seasonal cosmetics from Season of the Witch and you compare them to this year, they're almost always way high. I say Season of the Witch, I meant Witch Queen. They're almost way higher in the Witch Queen year than Lightfall year, because way fewer people are playing this year versus that year. There's so much momentum on top of and like hype generation and you know, player retention and all of this that is built into a successful yearly expansion that is just so much more than just the base revenue it makes. That attention and social media hype and, you know, marketing push, however you want to look at it, is crucial to the overall success of the game. I do not see a world where there's any sort of business projections where they say, oh yeah, we can get rid of that and maintain the studio as it is and still somehow make money to satisfy stakeholders, Sony, everyone. You know what I mean? To me, that does not make sense. Maybe I'm missing something. I would love to hear your thoughts down below, but I think all in all, doesn't make any sense to me. I don't have enough evidence or any sort of backing other than people's feelings towards Destiny at the time to back up, oh, we're done with yearly expansions. The only way I could see that being true is if, hey, we're just going to do episodes for a year or 2 while we develop Destiny 3, try to recapture people's hype with a whole new product. That is the only scenario, in my opinion, where Bungie's going to do this, because they're not going to bet everything on a game that has barely been tested by the public, which is Marathon. That is already a PvP game, which typically have a much higher barrier of entry and are much less successful generally. Obviously Fortnite, PUBG, things like that, you know, exceptions to that, but it's much harder to get a hit PvP game than a hit PvE game, in my opinion, or at least anecdotally throughout my experiences at what I've seen in this space. And it's also not only just a PvP game, it's like a super niche micro genre extraction shooter, puzzle solver, alien vibey synthwave game. They're not gonna bet everything. That is taking your life savings, going down to the roulette wheel, putting it all on black. No one does that. A company that is risking losing control of themselves to Sony is not going to do it. So I just wanted to put my thoughts in this video. Maybe I missed something. Sorry if it's a little rambly, but just in my opinion, from a business perspective, it makes absolutely zero sense for there not to be annual expansions, like I said, with the exception of if they're working on Destiny. This is Bungie's bread and butter. This is how they're paying all of the bills. And in the near future, I don't expect that to change. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you. Have a great day.